The draft's getting closer, and this week it's my mock draft for the entire first round. No trades, but there's going to be some controversy. Let's get into it. Welcome to Locked On NFL Draft.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, but
yeah, welcome to another episode of the Locked On NFL Draft Show. I'm your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back, Eric Crocker. And of course, I'm always joined by my co-host, Ryan Tracy from Rogue Analytics. And we want to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We spoke about it a little bit on the last episode. You know, Ryan has his everything done as it pertains to the draft and Rogue Analytics. They just finished up. So make sure you guys check out that draft guide. Has everything covered, ball hawking skills, tracking in the ball, all those good things, tackle, everything that you need to know about these prospects. And they put a lot of work into this. He has that all set up. But today, he is on the spot. All right, we're putting him on the spot with his mock draft. We only have a couple more of these left. Really, what? One more, right? After this, you got one more left. That'll be the final one. We'll try to work together on that. But this one is all you. And it starts off with the Jacksonville Jaguars. No surprise here. They take Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher out of Michigan. The Detroit Lions at pick 2. They take Trayvon Walker out of Detroit. At pick 3, you got Ahmad Sauce Gardner going to Houston, and you've been consistent with that. At pick 4, you got Ekwonu. And I think it's not surprising that he's picked. I think it might be surprising to some that he's picked before Neal. But the next pick, the New York Giants, they take Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama. So I want to know, what was the thought process? I think the first guy here, Trayvon Walker, that was kind of, I don't want to say the question mark, but probably the one where he's definitely flying up boards. Yep. But how good of a fit is he with what the Detroit Lions want to do?
You know, for me, it's his versatility that makes it. He's so unique an athlete that I think that's what's pushing him up the boards. But in this case, he can play the edge for you. He can go down inside. You can use him in multiple ways. And I think that's what made me think that if they're going to take a risk on him, it'll be all right because they think they can get production out of it at multiple positions. I actually like him on the edge. The production doesn't bother me because of what he was tasked with at Georgia. So I think that he can actually get into the league as an edge rusher and really make that impact. And if you check him out, check out the Rogue APC draft guide. It is at rogueapc.com. Use that code locked on because it gets you a nice chunk off. And don't be bashful. Make sure you use it. If you look at him in there, he's such a unique individual that I think you can squeeze him into a couple of different positions. You can even, if you need to, drop him off the ball. And you see more and more that, especially like four-man front edges that have to drop into space and have to do something. Well, he can do that. And we've seen it on film. So at the end of the day, he was just such a well-rounded and potentially explosive athlete that I had to put him up there.
And I also want to ask you about, the Ekwonu going to New York Jets, and then obviously Neal going to the New York Giants. Both going to New York teams, but I think a lot of people have Neal over Ekwonu. So what was kind of your thought process on that? Is this something that's based on some of the Rogue Analytics data that you guys put together and saying, you know what, this guy might be a little bit better in certain areas that maybe carry over to the NFL?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's based on the film grade too. So I have had Ekwonu as the better film grade all along. And as much as I've tried to open my eyes and let other people's opinions come in, I just can't do it. I still have him number 1 because I think as a total package, I think he can do that. And quite frankly, I think they need to run the ball in New York. So I think Neal's the better pass blocker right now. And that makes perfect sense. They're both athletic. Actually, Ekwonu as a whole tested out a little bit better on my scale. So I give him the edge there as well. So it's very simple, but you can see how close they are. You could switch these guys, and I don't think anybody's going to complain. Maybe the day after the draft, they do a little crosstown trade. I don't know.
All right, so at pick 6, you got the Carolina Panthers on the clock. They take Malik Willis. At pick 7, New York Giants back on the clock. They take Kayvon Thibodeau, edge rusher out of Oregon. At pick 8, this was probably the first big surprise. Drake London, wide receiver out of USC. So now Atlanta has not only Kyle Pitts, but Drake London as well. Two big body guys that can go up and get the rock. All right. At pick 9 overall, the Seattle Seahawks take Charles Cross. I like that, offensive tackle. And at pick 10, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Now, I think here, and you got to talk about it, Drake London, first receiver taken off the board. And I think there are some people that kind of question the long speed. And I think they are kind of overlooking his ability to kind of create more short area separation. Is he a guy that's just going to run straight past someone? No. Right? But he also has that basketball background, really good at boxing guys out, and high pointing the ball. He's actually like great at that. But first receiver taken, especially when you don't really have testing numbers on him. He's a guy that's recovering from an injury, elected to not run at the combine and also at his pro day. I think it was smart of him to kind of pull Michael Crabtree, who we saw also go top 10 after not running when there were some questions about his long speed. What made you have him go first off the board as it pertains to the receiver position?
Well, because late Friday night, I got a chance to see a bunch of film from the pro day. And while I agree with you, I think that was smart. If you are at a disadvantage in your long speed, don't show him your disadvantage. Rely on the film, right? But what he did do is I thought he looked a lot more nimble in his movements in terms of the cone drills and the agility that he showed. Again, not doing tests, but just running routes on the field. I thought that was a marked difference in what you saw him do on film because of what he was asked to do and how he plays the game. So for those that are worried about it, I think that kind of just sealed it. And at the end of the day, if you look at Pitts, who's got good athleticism, and you got London, who's got good athleticism, but not great, showing those small things in terms of short area quickness that allows him to stem off at the top of routes and get just enough separation for him, I think that gives them, in a quarterback class that I don't think the Falcons wanted to do it, I think it gives you another option. And quite frankly, if you have Pitts and you have London, you can see eventually one of those. If you squeeze your eyes real hard, there's like the ghost of Tony Gonzalez that shows up there, right? So I think it's still a viable option for their offense. And we'll worry about the quarterback when they worry about the quarterback. I think that might be a second-round pick. But it gives them a target that two guys that you can go put the ball up to and let them go get it. And I think that might be enough to move the Falcons offense.
Awesome. Well, that was probably the first surprising one, but there's another one that's coming up in the next 5 picks. All right. Jermaine Johnson, he's not on the board yet. We'll talk a little bit more about him as well as some other prospects that'll be taking between picks 11 and 20.
Yeah, I was not bashful about that, and I wouldn't bet where these guys go, but if I did, I'd put it on BetOnline because that's where you can get all the props, all the information, all the podcasts, everything in one place. If you're going to put your money in play, do it in a smart way and get all the information you can, whether it's the football draft season, whether it's baseball, hockey playoffs, whatever else is going on, some of the crazy MMA stuff that you can bet on. I don't even know enough of those guys' names to put any action in there for me, but that's okay. You do what you do and check it out. The website's super easy to get to. You can get everything from it, including all their information, all their podcasts, everything that you want. It's over at BetOnline where the game starts.
All right, so back on the clock, you got Washington. All right, Washington, Minnesota, Houston, Baltimore, and Philadelphia Eagles with their first pick of the first round. And I was really curious to see, like, okay, Jermaine Johnson, he's not off the clock yet, but we start with Washington. They take safety, Kyle Hamilton. And there are people that have kind of their questions and about the speed and things like that. But I think on film, he's shown enough closing speed for sure. And that playmaking ability, especially couple that with that size, 6'4", 220-pound frame that he has. People are going to be really intrigued by all of that. Next up, pick 12, you got the Minnesota Vikings going taking Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU. So he had his pro day. He ran very well. Teams aren't worried about that. And then you have Houston, Texas. They select Jermaine Johnson. I really like that pick, especially after taking Sauce Gardner with the 3rd overall pick. At pick 14, which is a big need. I was in, Twitter spaces listening to Baltimore Ravens fans, and they were really kind of stressing, hey, they need a tackle. They need an offensive tackle. So Trevor Penning goes here. And then at pick 15, Trent McDuffie, the 3rd corner off of the board. So first I want to start with Derek Stingley Jr. We've talked a little bit about how early on as a freshman, his film was terrific. And it kind of tapered off a little bit, but I think everybody still kind of believes in the ability. So Does anything over the past couple of years, what you've seen on film, worry you at all with him? Or you say, you know what, that freshman year film was so good, he can get back to that?
The question for me is what else is going on? Because honestly, after his freshman year, the film doesn't look that great. You have questions like a guy that should be from the jump, from snap one of any given season, should be the best player on the field. Didn't show that this last season. Didn't play a lot. So maybe something was going on in the offseason, whatever, he needed to ramp up, get into the flow of the season, right? And that didn't happen because of the injuries. I'm betting that because of that reputation, because of what we saw from him in fight on the field and the dog mentality that he has, that now hopefully he's been able to recover. He looks like athletically he's on his way back. If he gets in, what is a bigger change than I think we pay attention to here for most draft shows is you're going from being a guy that has to go to class and do other things, and now you are a professional. This is what you do every day, all day. I think that change of mentality and that change of resources to take care of his body, I think that will help him get back to where that was. Is it a question? There's a little risk there, but I like the fit a lot, and I'm betting that Derek Stingley, 24, from freshman year is the guy who shows up in the NFL.
Right. Also, Trent McDuffie, the third corner. Now, he tested well, and I think he might have tested a little bit better than people thought. There were a lot of comparisons to Byron Murphy because they have like similar play styles. I think some of it is the school and they kind of look the same, or like if you just look at them. So there's that aspect of it. But he tested very well, ran in the 4.4s. That was awesome for him. So Trent McDuffie, he goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. I was a little curious that you didn't try to address the defensive line here, but I know a lot of the edge rushers are going off the clock. We'll talk about a few more picks here. The New Orleans Saints, they take Jameson Williams, wide receiver out of Alabama, pick 17. This is a good one right here. The Los Angeles Chargers, almost called them San Diego Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers take Jordan Davis, interior defensive lineman out of Georgia. At pick 18, Chris Olave goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. At pick 19, the Saints find their long-term quarterback in Desmond Ridder. And at pick 20, the Steelers find their long-term quarterback in Kenny Pickett. All right, so I mean, first and foremost, I like a lot of what you've done here, and the Saints being able to add a receiver, which they need, and we still, I mean, what the heck is going on with Mike Thomas? You know, I don't know. You know, he didn't play all of last year. That was interesting. How much does he still want to be a Saints? We haven't heard trade talks or anything like that, so maybe everything's just fine, and it was just a weird season for him. But Jordan Davis going to the Chargers. What were the thoughts going into that? They did bolster up the defensive line. They got Khalil Mack. Obviously, they have Nick Bosa, or not, excuse me, Joey Bosa. But you wanted to get stronger in that middle.
Yeah, that's the thing is when you talk about stopping the run, and especially as teams in this division in particular start to shift from what they're getting over the top coverage, and they shift back towards what can they do between the hashes and in that first 10 yards, I think they're going to see more run come at them. And I think that they need to bolster that up, and especially the way that it fell, like you were saying about the Eagles with McDuffie, right? That was a question because of the edges had gone off, right? And I don't think there's that value for them there. And there is the link with Howie having drafted UW corners before. So I kind of went with that, right? But here it's about what can you do to make your team better right now? You got Derwin, you got Bosa, like you need to supplement some other way. And I know they make a stab at linebackers a couple of times in the last couple of drafts. That was an option there as well. Obviously giving them another weapon. I think it's a little early for a weapon on the wide receiver spot because they just brought back Williams. I think they can get more value later. And so this is a talent in Jordan Davis that you can't get anywhere else in this draft. And if you let him go by now, I think it's a lot harder to supplement the inside of your defensive line if you don't do this here.
Yeah, and I think when you have a young, talented quarterback like Justin Herbert, a lot of people want to force that receiver in there. Just give him all the weapons that he possibly can handle and just make it the most explosive offense ever. When really a defense is, or a quarterback's best friend is, you know, I know a lot of people think like tight end receivers, but really it's that defense, slowing the opposing teams down, making it so that you don't have to put everything on your shoulders. So from that standpoint, I like the way you think there. When we come back, got the rest of the teams in the first round ready to pick. All right, starting with the New England Patriots, Green Bay Packers, Arizona Cardinals, Dallas Cowboys, and Buffalo Bills.
I tell you what, if you're the New England Patriots and you need some nutrition to try to bolster what you're doing with everybody else, these are the things that you want to go get. The Built Bars. And usually I just get to hold these and Croc does the work, so I appreciate that. But these are my favorite things. I'm not a marshmallow guy, so even though the Puffs are the best tasting bar that they make, It's not my thing. So I still go back to the old standbys like coconut brownie chunk and the cookie dough stuff. There's a new white chocolate cookie dough that I think I'm really interested to get because my order's on the way. These things are the best way to replace your nutrition or supplement your nutrition if you're trying to add clean weight with good protein. That's what it comes down to. Low net carbs, low calories. These are like 130 to 150 calories a piece. They can get you through as a meal replacement and then get you through as a supplement for all the protein that you need because there's 17 grams in each of these guys. They're super, super easy to get. They taste great. And all these flavors keep coming. They might even design you a special when you ask them nice enough because I understand that there's an open line. Not everybody gets what they want. The cinnamon churro, whatever your favorite is, you can get something there. The puffs are the marshmallow type protein infused material that I think is really great. And I'm waiting patiently for the Girl Scout cookie mint thing to come back. So I'm not the snacker that Croc is, but I enjoy these, and I think that you guys will too. So go over there, get some Built Bars, make sure that you let them know that we sent you because, that's the way that it is. It's over at Built.com, and you can get 15% off any order by using the code LOCKED15 when you go there. That's the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off of your order at Built.com.
All right, so on the clock, you have the New England Patriots, and you actually go a different direction there. I was thinking maybe receiver. They haven't been very good drafting receivers first round. Hell, I don't think they've been very good drafting receivers at all. All right, so They go in a different direction here. Zion Johnson, interior offensive lineman. Then you have Green Bay Packers. They try to replace Darius Smith by going George Karlaftis, the edge rusher out of Purdue. You have Devontae Wyatt, an interior defensive lineman, going to the Arizona Cardinals at pick 23. The Dallas Cowboys, they go safety, Lewis Cine, and that's my guy right there. I think he's the best safety and most talented safety in this class. The Cowboys take him at pick 24. And at pick 25, the Buffalo Bills take Andrew Booth, cornerback out of Clemson. I think here's one thing to kind of think about throughout this process. The Dallas Cowboys right now, I think they're solidified at one spot corner. Right? You have Trevon Diggs. He's awesome. 11 interceptions last year. Amazing. On the other side, they've had some question marks, and they've tried different guys, and Anthony Brown, things like that. I think they thought that Kelvin Joseph was going to take that next step, and he was going to be the long-term guy. And Kelvin Joseph has himself into a sticky little situation, and we are not quite sure how exactly it's going to work out, but I don't even want to get into the whole legal ramifications of this, but he was questioned about a murder, and then he admitted to being in the car. Really weird. But do you think that there is potential for them to maybe go the cornerback position at that spot?
I was debating this. This was probably the hardest two picks that I had to make here because one of them was going to get Booth. And for me, like you said, they've had some issues there. And I didn't feel that the risk on the medicals for Booth was worth it for the Cowboys. Because if they do make that selection and he has any setbacks, they're out that pick. They need somebody that was going to be on the field that could take even a leadership role and can do a number of things, patrol that middle a little bit. And I think that helps Diggs even more, having somebody that's going to be man in the seam that can help him and push everything over to the other side. And they'll have to deal with that in either a secondary pick or I think there's still a trade to be had here for a second-tier corner.
I like it. And, man, right here down the stretch between picks 26 and 32, you have a few of my favorites in here. All right? Starting with Kenyon Green, going to the Tennessee Titans. That's my favorite interior offensive lineman. At 27, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers take really one of my favorites. And I just talked about Lewis Cine. I think my second favorite safety in this class because not just a safety, but I think he fits the modern day like safety and what you need from those guys from a coverage skill standpoint. And he didn't do a whole lot of too high, but you could probably play too high, play a lot in the nickel. But that is Daxton Hill. And I said too high, but also probably play some single high as well. 4.3 speed. Sticky man coverage guy, not the biggest of a guy. Reminds me a lot of Jimmy Ward, who plays for the 49ers, who's a terrific safety in his own right. Christian Watson, who is actually my wide receiver too in this class, he goes 28th overall to the Green Bay Packers. And then at picks 29 and 30, you got Boye Mafe, my boy out of Minnesota, and then Kyrie Elam, my CB3 in this class, cornerback out of Florida. So a lot of talent right here at the end of the draft. I think it just shows at the end of the first round, I think it shows exactly like how deep this class is. I don't know if it's super top heavy in the first, 12 picks, but after that, I think going all the way from here to pick 50, there are other guys that you can make a case to go in this first round. But I definitely want to start with Christian Watson going to Green Bay Packers. Now, my only pushback on the first round receiver, and I know everybody wants that first round receiver going to Green Bay, and it makes a ton of sense. You just like Devontae Adams, you want to replace him, right? But you're replacing him and he has to play for a quarterback that can kind of be an a-hole a little bit, right? Like Aaron Rodgers, he can be a little different. And I wonder, like, how is it going to be for a young receiver to really catch on playing with Aaron Rodgers and the pressure that comes with that, and what's going to be asked of him, and just, gosh, the expectations. That's going to be a tough situation. Maybe a guy like Christian Watson, who is a little bit older in this process, I believe he's 23 years old right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's a little bit more mature and a little more focused to be able to handle a guy like Aaron Rodgers. But it took a few years for Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams to really start cooking. We'll see if Christian Watson can have a little bit more luck there. You did have 2 picks with your Kansas City Chiefs, who you cover for the Locked On Network. Boye Mafe, Kyer Elam. Thoughts going into that? And I think those are terrific picks as well.
Yeah, it's about fit. And the same thing with Watson. Yes, there's that speed element, but that's the thing is I did this because he's being pushed up there. I personally wouldn't have done this. I had Dotson going to him the last time I did a mock, right? But I wanted to give them something different, something that made them a little bit more explosive. And that's the big question is how do you settle in there? Especially, like you said, it takes a couple of years with Aaron Rodgers sometimes, right? He doesn't have a couple of years. It might be 2 seasons left. So I was betting on the fact that the athleticism takes over and they can do things to adjust the offense to match what he does and maximize him. Same thing in Kansas City. You have to get a starter level player at one of those 2 positions for Kansas City just because of the situation that they're in. And I think Boy's almost ready to be there. Is he going to struggle a little bit the first half of the season? I think so, but I think he's going to get his legs under him. And when you take a look at what's left at the edge, there's not a whole lot that you can make a better bet on. So I went with him. And I think that allowed you to take the what I think is a higher risk on Elam because of the injury history in a situation that puts him another long, tall corner that can be physical in a backfield with Rashad Fenton and DeAndre Baker and L'Jarius Sneed. Now, good luck trying to muscle up on the Kansas City Chiefs in the secondary. I think that'll be fun to watch because it's not going to happen.
And he's definitely a guy who can play at the line of scrimmage, likes to play at the line of scrimmage, and we know Kansas City likes to do a lot of that. I picked 31 and 32. Last picks in the first round. Tyler Linderbaum, interior offensive lineman, goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. They get some help there. And I know there are some to say, well, you don't want to force offensive line to Bengals just because, the quarterback. But it's like, dude, your quarterback's good. He gets pressure like no other.
Yeah.
He's always running for his life. It actually cost him the game in the Super Bowl. I don't want to say cost him the game because, that would be kind of discrediting who and what Aaron Donald is, right? He's a game record, so it might not even matter who you have. But you want to help that quarterback as much as possible. I like Tyler Linderbaum going there. And he can play anywhere in the interior, center, guard, wherever, he'll be fine there. And then pick 32, I think the Detroit Lions fans would be happy here. You did not go quarterback for them. You went receiver, Jahan Dotson. And a year after them taking St. Brown, they've added some guys via free agency. But I think having a guy like this that's a legit field stretcher, explosive guy, okay, we got that receiver. Now maybe come back early second round and draft a quarterback. But,
it's like you got more picks, right?
Yeah, it's like you got more picks.
I listen to you, Detroit fans.
With mocks. Yeah, that's sometimes with mocks. It's like you want to, got to get this guy now. And it's like, no, you can wait. You got more picks in this draft. Most teams.
Well, and I gave him a quarterback last time. So Lions fans, I listen to you. I hear what you're saying. But this fit, and it's not just everything that you mentioned, it's also the fact you can put him in a number of positions. He's going to catch the ball for you. It doesn't matter where you line him up. He can do a little bit of everything. And I think that's a tool that if you're going to ride with Goff, like the fan base for Detroit thinks so, you got to give him as much help as you can in as many different ways as you can. You got to get creative, or at least get it into the hands of people who can be creative with the ball. I like Dotson. I think he survives contact, and that's the most important thing for me. And what I think teams are going to try to physical up and throw Goff's timing off next season. And I think that's the key to beating them. So if you can fix that with a receiver, get it done.
Well, that's going to do it for this first round mock draft. And I think you guys know a whole lot of what's going on with the first round guys and those talented guys and who your team could potentially get. Moving forward, especially on the next episode, we will talk a little bit more about some more unknowns, some more guys that are flying a little bit under the radar, maybe some late day 2, early day 3 type guys that can potentially help your team as well. So we want to thank you for making today Locked On NFL Draft Show your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, all kind of shows on this network. But of course, we start here with Locked On Chiefs with Ryan Tracy, Locked On 49ers with myself and my co-host, Brian Peacock. But that's going to do it for today. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Let's go.
Let's go.